I really enjoy having you here, Nissan, because you help so much keep me moving in the right direction on these meetings. Well, I'm just going to say welcome. We've been over this introduction every time, and
Yeah.
so I want to get on with, and there's the purpose of the American Union. And so here we go, round one, introduction, name, place on the planet, passion, or current action. And I'm a TC, retired carpenter in Carlsbad, California. And my passion today is in finding what I think I want to do already being done and cheering for it. Over to you, Nissan.
Hey, I'm Nissan from New York, the admin coordinator for the United People's Assembly and the tech lead for New York People's Assembly. And my passion is doing the work and getting back our democracy from these crazy people.
Okay, I'm Chiwa. I'm in San Diego, well, at Oceanside, north end of San Diego County. And my passion these days is my kids' EcoBook series. And I'm working on my website. Got to get everything ready before I launch my book. It's a lot of shit to do. And yeah, that's it.
I'm talking to Brian now. Go ahead, Eddie.
I'm Eddie. I'm in Shanghai, from Houston, Texas originally. And my passion is universal basic income and the economics of why it's necessary and why the current level of inequality, the current level of growing inequality is unsustainable in the absence of UBI.
All right, Brian, you're just in time.
Okay, can you hear me now?
There you are.
Hi, my name's Brian. I'm in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and continuing to work on building a union of swing voters. And tonight I am also doing text banking while doing meetings. My
Cool.
current action.
Oh, yeah, current action. I didn't even know I put that in there. Okay. Thanks, everyone. Welcome. And so round two, any lingering thoughts from last week?
I'm still mulling over that sentence about challengers bowing out of the race. That really bugs me.
Okay, we got that on round four.
Right.
Anyone else?
Going PSA, monkeypox, continues to grow at a rate of about 10% per day. So unless that turns around, that may become pandemic number 2.
Wow.
So you be thinking about preparing for that.
Wow.
Okay.
We're at above 1,200 cases worldwide. Now, 2 weeks ago is about 50. We're now at 1,200.
All right. That sounds like new business. So thanks, Eddie. And any more old or new business? All right. Here we go. Here we're going to work. Round four, the question, should challengers drop out if the incumbent passes the blueprint? Be part of the requirements of the blueprint for a better America. Does everybody understand that question? So Chiwa, you pointed this out to me and I completely agreed with what you saw last week. And I think you're a better, present this better than I could, so.
Well, I don't know about that. But yeah, my concern is that I understand, I think, why it's in there. You probably put it in there, Brian, because it's kind of impossible to support both sides of something, right? So you got to pick. Is that correct? If
well, well,
if the challenger and the incumbent both agree to be part of this, then you can't take sides with both of them. Is that correct? That's why you did
Right.
this?
Yes, that's the demand for Congress. Get this done before the election in exchange for votes.
Yeah.
And so if the challenger makes this demand and they get what they ask for, then yeah, then that's their demand. So they're promising their vote to the incumbent if they get this done.
Well, that's not the only thing probably that the challenger plans to do. And it seems to me that I understand why it's there, and I don't know what the solution for this is.
Mhm.
But it really bothers me because it seems rather anti-democratic that it's taking the choice away from the voters who might have other reasons for preferring the challenger.
Yeah, no, that's I see where you're coming from. So does would phrasing it as endorse the incumbent instead of dropping out of the race, would that does that sound better?
That's better.
Okay, because yeah, no, you raise a good point, and I appreciate it. So yeah,
You know, I
I
don't
think-
like that either, but it's definitely better.
At least it
Um,
would remain as a choice for
Yeah.
voters who are not in the union.
Yeah, and TC did point out to me that the carbon tax is part of the blueprint. And so that being the case, my other concern was, well, let's not throw our weight behind somebody who's gonna do these things, but then mess up, on climate change. So I am somewhat mollified. I'm still not happy with it, but it's better than I thought it was.
I hear that as long as the challenger can stay in the race with an endorsement of the person who passed the bill, then that would,
What does that mean, TC, with an endorsement of the person who passed the bill?
well, the challenger would say that, you can vote for me, but this is the guy that you owe your vote to. He got this passed for you. Something like that, some kind of endorsement of him.
Who are you talking about?
Well,
Who is this guy you're talking about?
all right, well, can we use the Kentucky Senate race as an example? And
Please.
so we've got Charles Booker and Rand Paul. And Rand Paul is quite a mixed bag. He's anti-war, and he's, I think in favor of, he's in favor of a bunch of these things like ending the no-knock warrants and in the drug war and stuff like that. And then Charles Booker is in favor of other things like universal basic income and, expanding healthcare options and things like that. And so the scenario is that Charles Booker says, look, if I get elected, what's the rosiest possible scenario of what I could accomplish in the next couple of years? And there's no way that he could ever get all of these things done by himself in 2 years. But if Rand Paul could get it done before the election, then that's pretty good. That's pretty good deal for the citizens of Kentucky. And so the goal is that Charles Booker would say, look, if you get this done before the election, I will endorse you because you have delivered for the people that I want to represent.
Okay,
And so that's the goal. And
I
the
see that
framework.
one, yeah.
Feeling better and better.
Well, but
But wait a minute, my confusion is when you say if you can get this done, he personally is not the one that's gonna get this done, right? This is gonna be a group action, I thought, taking
Yes.
it to Congress and the
Right.
president.
Yes,
Okay,
there's got to be a lot of cooperation.
so it's more like if
as
we
Rand
can get
Paul
this
demonstrated
done.
recently, Rand Paul can obstruct things if he wants to too.
Oh, yeah,
But no, what I was going to say is that we're used to having an adversarial democracy, just like we have an adversarial criminal justice system, and all these things where we pit people against each other, and the theory that is going to improve the outcomes. And what if we stopped doing that? What if we said, what if we cooperated and we could try and get a better outcome? So that's the pitch. what if, what if instead of fighting for an election, what if we could cooperate on the things we wanted to get done?
Okay, she's,
So I think makes it easier, Pitch, if you're saying instead of looking at the competition, we're just looking at fighting for the legislation instead of fighting for the representative.
I did not understand.
I says it's changing the focus from the person to the legislation.
that sounds good.
Changing the focus from the,
Person
to the red, okay,
to, yeah, get focused on the legislation itself.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
That's one of the
yeah, that's
things
good, I like that, yeah.
that's one of the things I came to this week is that this legislation is more people that I see, all these different groups that are they want to do something like the climate change people, all these different people. What they want is in the bill. And how much better it would be if they all understood by going all together, we could get this passed. And I talked to Brian today and he said that he'd approached a group and they rejected it. So
The Citizens Climate Lobby?
no, the UBI people.
Oh.
So, but I hold great hope for the fact that it would solve most of what these groups are wanting to do.
Well, in the climate change arena, there's a lot beyond the carbon tax, but that is a very important element of it.
Right. You and I were working on one ourselves.
So then, but what Brian, and let me just get clear here. What you
Right.
said was that instead of dropping out, being required to drop out, the American Union would just throw its weight behind the incumbent. Is that correct?
Yes, if the
Okay.
incumbents get this done before the election, that's the deal. Is
Yeah.
that they can all earn,
Well, if all of them together get it done before the election.
yeah, 51% or whatever combination.
Yeah.
So are you comfortable with that, Brian?
With using endorse instead of drop out.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that makes good sense.
We helped. That was a good question. And I think we came to an agreement, which is very good. And then round 5 is a carbon tax and a 10% cut in military spending, and quote, emissions enough to satisfy fighting climate change. And what I'll say about that is I brought up and heard other people say that without fighting climate change, some of these other issues, although they're very much needed, what's it going to serve us if we're all dead and coughing or dying from? And then last night, SAS told me like this really strange number of people that are already dying from climate change. So,
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
my suggestion on that was just to make sure that it's highlighted in a way that people realize that this is going to be good for the environment.
Yes. That would
Although
be
it's
important.
not even close.
Well, actually, you know what, TC, I mean, I don't know about that because if you're talking about Republicans, many of them just don't believe in climate change. And so I don't know if it should be highlighted if you really want to get them.
Nissan, you had a comment.
Yeah, I just said that 10% is not even close to enough.
10% per year.
Right. I think what I hear Nissan saying is cutting 10% of military emissions is not going to be enough.
But it is
That-
10% per
that's
year.
almost nothing. And we can get 10% just by using more efficient mufflers. It's not that hard.
Ah, you're smart. That's a great idea. Now, I went to the Citizens Climate Lobby, and their focus is on the carbon tax. And they say that if we pass the carbon tax, that by 2030, it would cut emissions in half. And the emissions would be at zero by 2050.
Really? They said that?
That's what it said.
You're gonna have to put a higher tax than 10%.
No, it's
Oh, no,
behind
no.
the tax than 10%. The carbon tax will be beginning at 12%. It could go higher.
Yeah, okay, that sounds better.
Yeah.
Wait, 12%? Isn't it measured in a cost per metric tons?
Yes, it is, Brian. And starts at, maybe I missed,
But then we have to go to
starts
the
at
growth.
$12 a ton, I think, is what it meant to
I'm
say.
looking it up now.
Yeah, I think so. It's $12 a ton.
Okay. Well, the blueprint for a better America starts at 20 and goes up $10 adjusted for inflation each year.
Starts at 20, you said?
Yeah, $20 per metric
Good.
ton.
Yeah, the higher the better. And then, I mean, then there's also the question of regenerative farming, and what's helping our soils hold more carbon rather than releasing it all out into the atmosphere, like we're doing now with monoculture farming.
Are
Yeah,
you bringing up another issue?
Hmm?
Are you bringing up another issue?
Well, I'm just saying that's also important for the climate change issue. I'm not suggesting that we incorporate that. No.
Okay, I want to stay on.
I think
this
we have
carbon-
already quite a few issues.
I want to stay on the carbon tax because they were also talking about that they would give the money back to the people from
Yes.
the tax. And Brian, I think you didn't put that in the blueprint, did you, or did you not?
No, correct. Yeah. The HR 2307, the Citizens Climate Lobby Bill, collects all this, the carbon fee, and then distributes it back out to everyone. I think full shares for adults and half shares for kids. And so in the blueprint for a better America, we have universal basic income. So it's that same, everybody's getting a distribution. And so, yeah, so the carbon fee is essentially as an offset. It's included as part of the funding for universal basic income.
I was going to ask you, would it go into the general fund or whatever that pays for UBI? Yeah, for the jobs program, the American Union Jobs Program.
Money, yeah, money's fungible, but yes, it is an offset for the cost of universal basic income.
Wow, this is great. Are we done? Did we get done?
Wait,
No.
is that 10% carbon tax on the gross?
This is not a 10% carbon tax. You're seeing a 10% cut in military spending.
Right.
I'm sorry. So I'm saying, yeah, I'm sorry. It's the carbon tax on the gross though. On the gross profit of the company, because if not, they're just going to transfer the tax onto the buyers.
Well, I think the tax will be passed on, but if it's regenerated in UBI, we still come out ahead, I think. Isn't that the idea, Brian?
Yes, that's the idea. Under the Citizens Climate Lobby, under their model, they've calculated about 2/3 of American families would come out ahead. So the people who pollute less than average, they keep the difference, and the people who are polluting more than average are paying more. But yes, the $20 per metric ton carbon fee would add about 22 cents to a gallon of gasoline. And so, yes, there would be higher prices, and then you would get that money back through universal basic income or the fee and dividend under their legislation.
Yeah, but this ain't fixing the problem of the actual companies polluting though.
Well, yeah, the way it addresses it is by creating an economic incentive. So, if I know that gas is going to cost me 22 cents a gallon more this year, and it's going to go up another 11 cents next year and another 11 cents next year, then I'm going to pay more attention to buying a fuel efficient vehicle so that I'm polluting less. Whereas if I think gas is
Yeah,
just
but
going to be
I'm saying
cheap,
the
then I don't
pollution
care.
is based on the individual, not on the actual systemic problem. which is the people trying to cut corners to make a profit.
So the taxes on the production of the, the extraction of the oil or whatever else, whatever it is that is introducing the carbon into the economic system. So whatever it is, the price of that product is going to be reflected, is going to be higher because of the carbon.
So who it's going to really hurt is
Yeah, but I'm just saying,
low
then
income people.
that would just make them want to captivate the market more, because then they know they have something that they could make more money off.
I'm sorry, I don't follow.
Well, the thing is that a lot of the market is captured. That's what it is. So I mean, yeah, they probably want to make a strong incentive to kill the electric cars. I mean, right now we have a big push for electric cars because there's more of an incentive to buy them, because obviously, the big incentive is that we're running out of oil. That's basically the incentive. That's they're gonna have to change and cross over because they won't be able to make money off oil if there's none.
I don't understand why escalating gas prices would kill off electric cars.
Well, I'm just saying it's just what you're doing is just you're gonna end up capturing. They're gonna capture an EV market, and then they're gonna make them less efficient.
So Nissan, I hear you saying that
It's not incentivizing efficiency. It's incentivized. It's just incentivizing changing what the target is.
For puzzled people here.
What?
I think we're all puzzled by what you're saying.
Well, I kind of hear what
You
you're
gotta look
saying,
at
that
you
this
gotta
is
look at
sort
the
of that-
incentive structure.
this fatalistic view of, well, if you give people universal basic income, then the landlords
No,
are
it's
all
not
going to raise
fatalistic view.
everyone's prices by $1,300 and you can never do anything. It'll always fail. And so
Oh.
if
No,
the
there's
thing is,
UBI that can
raise
exceed. It
gas
depends how you do it.
prices, that the electric vehicles they're purposely going to make them inefficient for some reason to make more profits, then
Because they do that now. They do literally make our products ineffective so they can make more money. That's literally what they're doing now. That's
Well,
not
that's-
solving the problem.
That's what they've always done with light bulbs.
Yeah, that's who started it. That's the whole it was the light bulb industry that created the whole idea of planned obsolescence. That was the industry that did it. And ever since then, they've been doing it in every other industry. So you have to target the incentive structure, not target not target the result. Target the incentive, because the incentive was driving the result.
Does somebody have an example of that?
I don't have a clue.
Again, let's go back around with the light bulbs. We found a way to make very high efficient light bulbs back in the 60s, 70s. They spent a lot of time, and one company did so well, right? It dropped the entire econ market because nobody was buying any more light bulbs because this light bulb company lasts like for so long. So they purposely, put like a tax, put restrictions on that company, and all companies work together to like say we want to lower efficiency to a certain point where people will keep buying them. Right? So the incentive structure still here is the profit motive. So where they can get the profit from. If the profit motive is still allows them to pollute, they're going to want to pollute.
That's right.
But you also got to understand that if they could offset their costs to the consumer, it doesn't bother them. Because if the consumer gets the money back, they're just gonna have the consumer just gonna pay them more, pay them back again, because it's a cycle. The consumer gets the money, the consumer pays the company.
I don't think that's quite how it works. Like, for example, the grocery store might decide that they're going to start, because I got UBI, they're going to start charging me $10 a pound for carrots. And I'm going to be like, yeah, I don't have to pay that. I can grow my own. I can do I have other cheaper options. And if they try and raise prices in a way where, I'm still going to be price sensitive, price conscious.
Yeah,
as a consumer.
That's true if there's other options. But the problem is our economy is a captive market. We don't have many options. You need to add more options for that.
Well, and so the way you add more options is you increase demand, right? This is what Eddie's going to tell you,
No,
is that
no, increasing
UBI is
demand
going to create the demand so that you can start your own business, and you'll have
no,
customers you have customers who have money to spend.
bro,
You can
bro,
compete.
most big companies fail in the first year because of undercapitalization. They don't have enough capital to sustain the first year. Okay, now there's nothing to fix that. Even if you increase demand, it wouldn't matter because they don't have the funds to actually start correctly. That's the biggest problem with the option. So they just get bought out by bigger companies. So if some company comes up with a very unique option and that becomes an actual competitor, they'll just get bought out by the bigger companies. That's why we have monopolized so much right now, because that's what's been happening over the years. A lot of companies are getting bought off, and these big companies got so big that they started buying back their own stock. I mean, yeah, you want to give more people options, but you haven't solved what's preventing the options from taking place.
I mean, you're addressing these issues, like, again, let's use
By
Google as an
increasing demand,
example, right?
you would automatically get more options. That's not how that works. Increasing
Let
demand.
Brian finish his statement, please, Nissan.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, so let's use Google as an example, right? Google says, we're going to give you all these things for free as long as we can track you and we do all this stuff. And if I don't have any money and I can't afford to spend, $40 a year for Proton Mail or, whatever, if I don't have any other options, then I'm sort of trapped. I have to take the free option and become the product because I don't have the money to support some other business that would better meet my needs. And so when people have money, they can exercise more choice in the marketplace.
Yeah,
Nathan.
but again, the problem is that it's a false choice because a lot of the competitors are actually owned by the larger companies. It's a false delusion. It's like I don't have enough money to buy I want to go buy cherry pop. Right now there's a cheap option to cherry pop, but it's owned by the same 6 companies. It's a false illusion of choice.
I mean, I don't disagree with you that is one possible way things can go, but it's not inevitable.
Well, that's the most likely way it goes because that's the way it's going now. You haven't accounted for that issue.
Nissan, I would like to say that I hear what you're saying is based on the evidence that we have in front of us and the data of the past. But when I go to this citizens climate lobby, they talk about the incentive would be there for people, for the companies to actually find cheaper ways to do things and stuff
Yeah,
like
companies
that.
will find cheaper ways of doing things. They always do that. That's not that they don't need to be incentivized to do things cheaper. They're already incentivized to do so. It's built into the system. The cheaper they can make their products, the more profit they make. Simple as that.
Which is why by putting a tax on carbon, we create a financial incentive for them to pollute less so that it will be cheaper.
No, they'll just make them offset the pollution off other places.
It would
Eddie,
seem to me that
it
it would do that if and only if people drive less. It's enough of an increase that they pass on to the consumer. The consumers drive less and therefore they lose money.
Yeah, either they're going to pass on the cost to the consumer, or they're going to move their facilities to a place where the tax doesn't exist.
So the legislation, both the
Somebody needs to
blueprint,
mute.
Eddie, I don't know if you can mute, maybe. But both the model legislation and the blueprint include a carbon border adjustment, so that if you're polluting in somewhere else and then you bring it to America, you've got to pay.
Oh yeah, that was
whatever
another
the
thing I
cost
want to
is.
ask you. How do you enforce that?
I mean,
That
it's
was another
written
question
down
I
in
had
there.
with
I'm
you,
sorry, I don't
like,
know
that's-
exactly off the top of my head, but
Yeah, because I'm like, that's nice if you could get it to do that, but I don't think they could enforce that.
They
Maybe
could
the
enforce
state
it
could
if they
enforce that.
try. I mean, if you're talking about oil and gas, then when you import that, you can place duties on the oil that comes into the states.
Yeah, but the
Um,
thing is that the prices are set due to treaties. So that's a political thing. I don't think you could change that because you'd be messing with the treaty.
So yeah, so if what you're saying is that it would be a violation of like these international trade treaties to
Yeah.
treat different countries unequally based on what their carbon fees are in their own country, then
Yeah.
yes, you are correct. And so the way that the legislation that HR 2307 gets around that is that the money doesn't actually go to the United States. It goes to a United Nations organization.
Led by who?
The Green Climate Fund, created by Directive 3-CP.17.
Never
at the
heard of it.
United
Okay.
Nations Framework
nice.
Convention on Climate in 2011.
So wait. If the tax is going to the UN, how does the money get fed back as a UBI in the United States? How does that work?
You're correct. The import fees do not come back to us as a universal basic income. But this is
that would be screwing us more.
Nissan, you can't have it all these different ways at once, man.
I'm
Like
not saying,
if we're
I'm just saying that that's screwing us more. That's not helping. It's like if the idea was to offset the money that we gained from the additional fees by the UBI, then okay, that's fine. But you can't enforce that, because if they just go off the offset and then take the offset, right? They're just passing it on over to the UN, and that's not really solving anything.
oh, so wait, so you shifted now from being concerned about addressing climate change, and now you're concerned about the border offsets?
Well, no, because I'm no, it's still about climate change, but it's also I'm just trying to figure out how in this system, when it's enforced, what are the effects? And like, wait a minute. First of all, can this be enforced? Question one. You just asked, so I'm like, okay, if it's enforced through the UN, then that's a different horse of a whole different color.
It's not enforced through the UN, but they're the ones who get the money. It's not. This isn't a tariff that's applied to individual countries differently, because that would violate, our trade organization rules. But this is a fee that goes to the United Nations Fund.
The carbon tax is a fee that goes to the United Nations Fund.
What page is that on?
The border
Brian?
adjustment, the carbon fee border adjustment goes to it. So is what goes to the United Nations. Anything that happens here in the United States goes to the US Treasury.
Okay.
Anything that people import to the country, depending on their, they have to pay the difference between whatever their own local carbon fee is, even if it's zero, and what it would have cost if they'd have been manufactured or produced here. And so there's a list of carbon intensive products.
What page is that on, Brian?
It's in the definition, so it's probably, let's see, carbon intensive products, page 191. It includes iron, steel, steel mill products, aluminum, cement, glass, pulp, paper, chemicals, and industrial ceramics. And so the secretary would let figure out how much carbon was being produced by each of these goods, and essentially have a schedule for each of these. So that is the part that will take longer. So that carbon fee goes into effect later than the domestic one by, I think, 6 months.
So basically, you're just having individuals fund the climate change fund. That's all that's going to happen. But that's really not going to do much of anything. Like, what is the climate change fund going to actually actively do to prevent the carbon that's already being emitted? I don't understand.
Okay, well, again, you should look that up, because no, I do not. I'm not this United Nations Fund is not my area of expertise. It is a fund specifically set up to address these things, and this is the funding mechanism so that we comply with our trade rules.
I mean, I don't think they'll generate that much additional revenue. But I mean, I don't know how this UN group would actually do anything effective with the funds.
All right. Well, TC, I think when you get to it, I think that there's a hyperlink that will tell you more about it. So on page 202 is the Green Climate Fund. It's section 9913. And if you click on the Green Climate Fund, it will tell you more about this program. Yay, the hyperlinks in the document come in handy.
The climate change, does it say what they actually do? 194 countries, scroll down. I don't see nothing useful there.
It allocates its
Paradigm
resources to
shift
low
in
emission and
global-
climate resilient projects and programs in developing countries. The
Oh,
fund pays
also this
particular
just helps
attention-
developing countries.
Right, because the developing countries don't necessarily have the resources to throw off the pollution or to stop polluting in the way that the industrialized countries used to pollute and now have the resources to do less of it.
Right.
Okay, well, this won't really target the companies. It'll just have Americans pay more for foreign countries to develop.
Questions answered?
What?
Were the questions answered? I'm kind of
Well, I
lost.
mean, if you want the result for the American people to pay for developing countries to develop, I mean, that's what you're going to get. I'm just telling you what's going to happen.
Well, somebody's got to pay for it and it needs to happen. And it's to
I
to
would-
all
I
of
would
our
prefer
benefit
the
for it
companies
to
that are
happen.
polluting to pay that, not the American people. But that's just me. Yeah, I want to punish the polluters, not punish the people trying to save the world. That's just me.
I agree with that. That would definitely be the best possible thing that could happen.
Well, I have a question statement kind of thing of even if they pass.
Do it legislatively. You just have to say,
Let me
hey,
talk,
everybody donate to this fund.
Nissan, let me talk. You've been,
Okay,
you're
go
getting the
ahead.
habit of talking over people. So
Sorry.
I love you being here. You add so much. If the price gets passed on to the people, then eventually it's going to raise the people's ire and awareness, and they're going to put pressure back onto these companies and stuff. So the push for a change is going to be there either in the people or in the companies because of this added cost. That's my opinion. Go ahead.
Well,
Nick.
Yeah, a carbon fee would be effective at punishing companies that pollute, and
What?
especially if you're a carbon fee would be effective at punishing companies that pollute.
Based on what?
in- Based on so for example, with cars, we now have two options. We have electric cars and we have gasoline cars, and if you calculate how much carbon is emitted by the electric car versus the gasoline car, the electric car is much better. And
Eddie?
if yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Eddie, we kind of already discussed the EV and gas thing.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, you talked about it, but I'm saying that if you put a big carbon fee on gasoline, that will make the electric car much more competitive than the gasoline car, and it
Yeah.
will make a difference if the carbon fee is high enough.
Yeah.
And it gets way more expensive to pollute using a gasoline car. That will shift the economy towards that electric car, and the gas companies, the oil companies, and the gasoline car companies will definitely lose from that.
No, they
lose the
won't,
market.
because they're heavily invested in electric. They're
That's
still
fine
winning.
if they adapt and they become a company that does not pollute because they
Well-
provide electric cars and electricity.
Well, no, they'll still be polluting. They're just polluting in a different way.
Well, if they pollute the same amount in terms of carbon, then that's not going to work. If they
Yeah,
they're
but
going
we're
if you
shifting
put
the
the carbon
pollution
fee high
from
enough,
carbon
they're going to have to get
to
away from that
ionizing radiation.
to
and lithium
ionizing
and-
radiation.
Yeah, and because remember, you got to remember how you create the electric vehicles. I mean, we have to use lithium, we have to use other rare metals, and then the way they produce that. I mean, right now, most electricity is already produced by coal, right, in the developing countries. So but what it takes to develop an electric car and all this other stuff. It's also to refine those metals and stuff like that is another form of pollution.
What type of pollution does, lithium?
To refine it,
Sure.
it's a type of ionizing radiation. And there's something else, but I can't remember. A physicist was talking about it. I don't remember what the other thing was. Something else, but damn, what was it? All I remember is ionized radiation because I understood that. There was something else, but I didn't quite understand the other thing. So,
Well, this reminds me of how I have to deal with the fact that I'm an addict. And because I am an addict, I've learned to pick addictions that are less harmful. And I think in this case, America is addicted to energy and that we should just choose methods that are the least harmful because we're going to continue to pollute until we have the technology to have our needs met without pollution.
actually, these will be more harmful because
Okay,
then they'll be polluting our water supply, which is far more harmful.
explain the water supply. How
Yeah,
is it polluting the water supply? Who and how are they polluting the water?
the people that have to refine these metals do so in a way because they have the way they dig it up. First of all, the way they dig it up is through fracking and other stuff like that.
Okay,
Right.
yeah.
That uses a lot of water and other stuff that they need. And then in order to keep the radiation down, they also have to use water to keep the heat down. So this is polluting the water.
It is. There's no easy answer here.
No, actually, no, there are easier answers. They're not talked about, but there are easy answers that we have. We have solutions to
All
these
right, what
problems.
are they?
Okay. Now, there's a thorium reactor that's very highly efficient, but that's not really much talked about. I mean, there's also the hydrogen car. The hydrogen car is very, very efficient. The most eco-friendly thing you can have is the hydrogen fuel cell. Okay, but why we can't have hydrogen fuel cells? Because
They're highly explosive
What?
because they're highly explosive.
No, actually, they're not. They're not explosive, bro. They're not more explosive than freaking lithium or gasoline. No, the reason why they're illegal is because a component needed to make very efficient hydrogen cars for them to work is categorized as a grade 3 weapon component because it's used in thermonuclear warheads. That piece alone is completely inert. It's a completely inert material. But because it's used in thermonuclear warheads, it's banned to be sold. You can make it, but you can't sell it. That is a solution right there.
I look forward to your help, Nissan, in crafting this into a legislative solution for 2024.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
But this is what we have in front of us for 2022. And a carbon fee, again, as TC was saying, the Citizens Climate Lobby has tens of thousands, a couple 100,000 volunteers who are passionate about this, getting this passed into law.
I just want to give you the information, man. That's all I'm telling you.
Yeah, I asked him for information. He
Okay.
was just responding.
So
Go ahead,
I mean,
Brian.
if you want the most efficient solutions, I can give them to you because I actually bothered to look them up.
So,
So
can we
let me
get
ask
that
you though,
on?
so if we change that law, Nissan, why would that make people use less gasoline, right? Why wouldn't we,
hydrogen
the
fuel cell is
oil companies still be
incredibly
pulling
cheap
out
and
just as
efficient.
much as they are now?
And makes water as is, and water is the exhaust. It's
Nissan,
incredibly cheap, incredibly abundant, incredibly energy efficient. Goes for more than 400 miles to the gallon, and it makes water as the exhaust. It's completely safe. It's actually beneficial for the environment, not less.
Nissan, is there somewhere where these ideas that you have where we can kind of all share them?
Oh, I can show. I can send you a link to a video I saw that showed the hydrogen car thing.
All right.
Okay,
So-
that's a video, but I mean, you said you have a bunch of ideas, I thought. Maybe I was wrong.
Well, I don't have them on a list, unfortunately. I didn't make a list down like
I just
Okay.
Googled, is a hydrogen car safe? And there's all kinds of interesting articles here.
Okay, but I mean, what the point of the carbon fee is to make it less
I get
desirable
the
to
point,
keep
but I'm
pulling out
saying,
all the oil out of the
Nissan.
ground and everything, right? Because as what's happening now is as we get as they have extra oil and stuff, they put it into turning it into plastic. And they find other things to do with it because oil is, if it's cheap and because it has all this, energy built into it, they find other things to do with it because it's there. And so it's not just offering a better alternative isn't necessarily going to make them stop, but putting a tax or a fee on the production so that the harm that they're causing is accounted for, that they have to pay for the harm that they're causing. That is the way to start, discouraging that sort of behavior.
no, you don't want to discourage bad behavior. You want to encourage good behavior. That's what I'm trying to get to explain to you. Because if you try to discourage bad behavior, they're just going to find ways around it because you can't enforce those things.
Okay, this is an interesting discussion, and sorry that we're at the end of the hour, but see if I can determine what the question is here. That
The problem we have here is a perverse incentive structure where people are benefiting from doing bad practices. They benefit. So they'll continue to do it because they don't have to suffer any consequences, even at least not even short-term consequences, right? They don't give damns about long-term consequences because they'd be long dead before anything happens to them. So it's not that the system we have couldn't produce good stuff. It's just we don't promote good stuff being done.
right. So what I heard said just a minute ago was we can reward good behavior. Oh, I know what it was. You were talking about we're rewarding bad behavior instead of good behavior.
Yes,
And,
we incentivize bad practices.
So in a backwards way, some people would say the tax is to encourage them to do better behavior.
No, the tax would just make them to change their behavior to somewhere where they can cut that. That's it. Make money off it.
Okay.
Because
Well,
remember,
I don't see the answer here.
we're not going to pay. We're going to pay for it, not them. They don't give a damn.
Oh, that was the thought. Well, at least it gets paid for.
Yeah, it gets paid for, but then again, you're again putting the people that actually want to do good are now in debt to do it. You're punishing them for doing good and incentivizing the bad behavior because they're not having to do any consequences and making all the profit.
Well, then hopefully people will unionize into a voter bloc and
I
change
wish that
the
was true.
law to do something to encourage good behavior.
Yeah, but first they have to understand that that's the problem. A lot of people don't even understand what the problem is.
Well, I'm one of them for sure. I think.
You're one, but we need a lot more views. We need like a million, like 10 million more of you. I don't know, not 10 million, 1,000 times, no, 1 million times more than you.
Yeah, okay. I'm feeling a lot of joy and love right now because we're, not that we're at the end of the meeting, but I just enjoyed everyone's participation tonight. And it was, I think we were productive in the sense that we answered some questions that some of us had serious, reservations that maybe aren't there now. And that we've ended with a question that we could probably talk about next week, maybe, or even before, because it seems to be something that might make sense for working for 2024. So I'm going to open it to a final round for anybody that wants to add anything to conclude before we turn off the recording. Oh, wow.
All I want to say is love, peace to everybody. You're all trying your hardest, but but the first step to solving any problem is understanding the problem first.
Thank you, Nissan, and that's why we have you here to help us understand. Anyone else?
I guess I was just gonna try and respond to some of the things Nissan had closed with, and I guess sort of say that what we're doing right now is we're letting the bad behavior, the pollution and everything, we're letting the external costs of that we're letting these companies shift the external costs. And so the carbon tax, carbon fee is a way of assessing those costs on the people who are creating the problem, as opposed to letting them get shifted to other people for their profit.
Thank you, Brian.
interesting discussion, and I look forward to delving into this some more. But I do think that we can't address everything at once. How about you, Eddie?
No, I'm here.
Breakfast.
Yeah, it's an interesting discussion, and yeah, I think a lot of things take time to resolve.
Okay, thanks, everyone. I'm going to turn off the recording.